As they traveled the winding road toward Emerald City, the fivesome got to know one another quite well. In the end, it wouldn't be well enough, but they had a delightful journey nonetheless. Stopped when they needed rest, subsisting on berries and delectable greenery, drinking crystal clear water from the occasional flowing stream. Dorothy and Toto's goal, though his remained unspoken and only hinted at in the occasional volley of barks, was simply to return home to Kansas. While Dorothy had been frustrated with her life, at least it was consistent. Better that, she thought, than walking through a strange land with a dog and a freak show trio out of a kid's book. Still, their conversations had kept her calm and focused. Once she had gotten over her amazement at a walking and talking lion, scarecrow, and misshapen pile of metal, Dorothy found them fascinating. The scarecrow wanted a brain, the Tin Woodman wanted a heart, and the lion wanted courage. Dorothy wished each of them the best, but she was most concerned about finding her way back to Kansas. She prayed the famed wizard would be able to help her and Toto. As the hours turned into days, the quintet made steady progress eastward. The land changed from heavily forested to a great plain, and then, on the morning of the third day, they saw it. Emerald City rising from the flat ground like a grave mound. Not exactly emerald, more of a musty grayish green. They all pulled up and stared. Toto too, his eyes bugging from his head and his body trembling. "My God," Dorothy mumbled, unconsciously rubbing the corset. She turned to the scarecrow. "Is that Emerald City?" He nodded dumbly. "I believe it is, young miss." After staring a bit longer and then looking at one another, silently asking the question, "We're going in there?" they moved on. After all, what else could they do? And so, they trudged onward, more slowly now, as the Emerald City grew from a bump on the horizon to the dominant feature of the landscape, like a single rotten tooth jutting from a jawbone. Dorothy was reminded of an old nuclear fallout video her class had been shown in middle school. The air was thick and smelled peculiar. By the late afternoon, even at a dawdling pace, they were close enough to see the entire vast city was encapsulated by a massive retaining wall. Dorothy wondered, briefly to herself, if the wall was built to keep invaders out, or to keep something else in. The road had become less yellowish and more brown as it was covered by dirt and debris. Suddenly, Toto leapt forward and dashed forward a small bundle barely visible along the side of the road. Dorothy followed him and saw what appeared to be a pair of silver boots just lying there in the dust. As she looked closer, she glimpsed the letters D-O-R scratched into the earth before trailing off into the unintelligible. It was as if someone or something had left the silver boots for her to find. Or perhaps Toto had accidentally scratched something in the ground that she was misinterpreting. Regardless, the boots were incredible, vaguely resembling the combat-soled 8-eye lace-ups that had been in style some years previously. These boots had massive soles and straps instead of laces. But the color, Dorothy thought to herself, was unlike anything she'd ever seen. It was dazzling, as if some alchemist had turned the sun silver and captured its essence on leather. She bent, picked the boots up, and felt a pleasant jolt of energy run up her arm. She held the right boot against her right foot, and it appeared to be the correct size. Inside of the left boot, she felt a rattle and pulled out a key on a chain. Without thinking, She slipped it around her neck and felt immediately a strong pull towards the gates of Emerald City. She picked the boots up, perhaps deep inside recognizing them for the talismans they were, and rejoined the rest of the group heading towards the manned gate now visible where the road petered out. The group unconsciously picked up speed as it became clear their journey was coming to an end. None knew what awaited them, but all were ready to find out. Better sooner than later. As they approached the gate, they saw it was manned, for want of a better term, by a phalanx of oddly shaped monkeys and humanoid midgets. They congregated in a near military formation when they saw Dorothy's group approaching. "Why do you approach the Great Emerald City?" the monkey in charge asked in clear, uninflected English. "Do you have business here?" The Tin Woodman moved to the front. "Yes, my lord. We had hoped to gain an audience with the wizard." He half bowed, the plates of his armor shrieking in metallic agony. The monkey laughed, blowing a great whoop of foul air in the group's general direction. "An audience with the great wizards?" He giggled again. "You must be joking. Our leader is far too busy to meet with a band of hobos fresh off the yellow brick road." As the creature began turning away, Dorothy, in a flash of inspiration, stepped forward, clearly flashing the talismanic key around her neck. She didn't say a word. The monkey jumped and caught himself with the help of his own coiled tail. He looked her up and down slowly, as did the rest of the group of monkeys and odd humanoids. He backed away almost imperceptibly and nearly bowed. "Wait here for my return," he said, and withdrew through a door just to the side of the main gate. Minutes later, he returned with a new attitude. "If you folks would kindly follow me, the wizard will see you as soon as he's available." The quintet, Dorothy, Toto, the Tin Woodman, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, looked at each other and nodded. Then, without a backward glance, they walked into the place each of them had been seeking. Inside the walls, the Emerald City was less cancerous than it appeared from the outside. It was like a cave with residences and businesses built level above level against the wall. The center was populated with parks, open spaces, and high-rise buildings. The monkey led them to the tallest building, the one that towered well above the level of the outer wall. There were more security forces. The same oddly shaped monkeys and humanoid midgets standing at attention up the marble entry staircase. Once they made it through the old-school revolving door, Dorothy found herself in the most sumptuous waiting area she'd ever seen. Hand-plastered walls with what she could have sworn were solid gold chair rails and trim pieces. Carpet so thick it was like walking through sand at the beach. "Wait here," the monkey said. "The wizard will send for you shortly." He glanced curiously at Dorothy one last time and hustled out of the foyer. The rest of the group stared in awe at their surroundings while Toto snuffled around. Still holding the heavy silver boots, Dorothy sat thankfully in a rich leather side chair and waited. It wasn't long. An ornate wrought iron front elevator whooshed down from somewhere above. An odd little biped, half house cat, half elfish human, emerged wearing a lab coat, black gloves, and black galoshes. The little creature looked up at them without fear, emerald green eyes reflecting the dim light of the room. "I am the scientist," he announced ponderously, in a deep voice that belied his stature. "I am the wizard's assistant. What is your business with the Great One?" Dorothy rolled her eyes. These layers of bureaucracy were starting to become annoying. She stood, grabbed her boots in one hand and the key talisman in the other, and stepped toward the gnome. "That's between the wizard and us," she said, taking care not to show too much anger. "Take us to him." Dorothy thought she saw a grin quickly crease the scientist's face. "As you wish. Let's go." And so they went, up to the top floor of the building in the hand-scrolled elevator. No conversations, no questions. The moment they had all awaited, for different reasons, was at hand. Dorothy rubbed the corset and waited for the endgame. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.
Come and play with us.